a look at the second battle of Benfleet, or the second battle in the competition in Southend on Sea, and this time the Anglo Saxons are facing the Central Asian Turks, which is normally known as the Uighurs. Now, I looked as much as I could, but I couldn't find, much to my surprise, a Billy Bragg song glorifying or talking about the hardships faced by the Uyghur people. A bit of a mystery. You'd expect he'd done some sort of protest song against it, but scratching my head, I realised that there was a huge, really direct, much more obvious connection of the Uyghurs to Southend, in that if anybody knows anything about the culture and lifestyle of steppe nomads and warriors like that, a lot of it is sort of not really pastoral, but they have herds of cattle and horses and goats which accompany them on campaign, and that means a lot of their diet is dairy from those things which they keep in their saddlebags, and when they're riding across the plains and the steppes in the baking hot sun, there tends to be quite a bit of fermentation goes on with that. It can lead to cheese, but equally it can lead to some of the sugars in the milk turning into alcohol. So quite literally, the Uyghurs are an army whose diet is milk and alcohol out of the same sort of vessel, really. So you've got a complete Dr. Feelgood Uyghur army here that is facing the linear Saxons in a game in which a marsh has got on table, a field has got on table, just to kind of narrow the table a bit. The Uyghurs are not necessarily an optimised army list. There's a lot of light horse here. There's some heavier cavalry who shoot as well. There's a few blocks of sort of poor quality spearmen who are lurking at the back, and you can see a very simple Saxon plan. It is basically to form a line all the way across the table. There would have been a gap here at the edge of my deployment zone, in which those Uyghurs were no doubt trying to squeeze past, and we'll see how that works out. And it's just really to push forward, suck up the shooting from these people, try and minimise it as much as possible by chasing away, and eventually get into the baggage. Not sure whether that's Pitsea or Thundersley or whichever town on the A13 that is, in the baggage with the tents, and do some damage and just push the enemy off the back of the table. So here we go. You see the Uyghurs pushing up. They were trying to squeeze down that flank, but that must be where Ethelred, Ethelstan, Ethel Merman, who knows, can't remember the name of the brilliant commander, has been shoved the troops over onto that side, used the cavalry to cut it off as well. So you've got archery pouring in, you've got archery coming in, and you've got some brave Saxon skirmishers soaking this up and just trying to avoid it hitting their spearmen for as long as possible. And here you go. You can see the Uyghurs have actually brought up as well some of their mediocre spearmen, a little bit kind of Persian-esque, but you know, it's all from the same sort of area, isn't it? And that is suddenly a unit which can't get away. And I'm looking at this Uyghur army, looking at how big it is. You can count the number of troops, but every one that I'm able to catch and kill is a bit of a bonus, and these guys are going to go down. They're mediocre spear against uncounted numbers of other spear. Very hard for these cavalry to stand against them, especially now this bit is under pressure from my cavalry and my spearmen as well. So in the centre, you've seen, looks like some of my skirmishers have been shot up or killed even. It's now the spearmen are at the front, taking shots from these real proper, lovely little old school Mike's Models-esque, or no, they might be Tin Soldier actually, mounted horse archers, and the rest of the spearmen have come up as well. Potentially, it's, I guess, to stop my guys kind of squirting around the flank, but that's again another good target. This is like the Viking battle, but in reverse, something my guys are better at fighting, so we're delighted to see them. And here you can see the centre is just pressing back, pushing these are falling back through each other, coming back shooting, but not too much damage is being done at the moment. The shields of the Saxons are keeping people away. These guys look like they're deciding to maybe stand for a bit longer while these spearmen get engaged. It is breaking up my line a little, but that single spearman's not going to be too much of an obstacle. With no hits here, I should be driving these cavalry back as well. And suddenly here, these guys look like a target for either Billy or Wiggy. That's one of the generals, and the rest of the spearmen pushing forward. So this is just pushing on. And here we go. The cavalry have stood, actually. There's a couple of units of spearmen there. They've stood, they're doing well against the odds, against the overlaps. They're pushing through, but you can see the rest of my army pushes past. That allows this reserve, I think this is what I was using as the mediocre spearmen, a chance to get in and turn the flank and roll them up. And you've got a couple of cavalry there in the middle who are using their quality and armour to to hang on, but they're going to have to bug out soon because these flanks are going to be overlapped, and there's not too much these light horse can do if they don't incur hits on my elite heavy cavalry, which is quite hard to do against elite heavy cavalry. Certainly doable, but it's quite hard to do. So here the centre has just been pushing back, and it looks like the cavalry are starting to make a stand. Here the mediocre spearmen, Billy and Wiggy, have done the business. They've taken that unit of 4 units, and it's now down to 2. They're double overlap. They're not long for this world, and that's just going to open the table for them to close up that gap, shove those light horse off the table, and just keep pressing forward towards the camp, down the railway line, down the A13. And you can see here the last of the mediocre spearmen on this side are also being chopped up, overwhelmed. The other one's already gone. You add those with the ones on the other side, that's 6 units, double 2 hits for every one that you kill, so that's 12 already, pushing towards the baggage. That's quite a big dent in this army. The cavalry are pushing forward, keep driving these guys nearly off table. It is starting to break up a bit, but difficult for the Uighurs to kind of make too much of it because their capital troops are gone. The cavalry are gone. The cavalry may in fact have been killed here, but looking at it, it's entirely possible, because they're not to be seen over here, so that could be more than 12, 14, 16 already. It's having to make a stand in front of their camp. They're making a stand, they're doing okay, a couple of hits, but still there are just so many spearmen coming forwards. There's 18 combat troops against this army that's got 4 cavalry here, a couple there. There's really only 6 or 7 things that can stand up against the 18. The light horse just get driven away, the mediocre spearmen get run over, and the Saxons just roll forwards down that trunk road. And here you can see how tough they are when they do stand up, but with only 3 of them, it's limited, and it allows the Saxons to get around the flanks. There's still yet more Saxons to come in. Even the reserve ones are looking okay, but each person shoved off the back of the table, looks like some light horse have been shoved off the back of the table there, is all pushing this Uighur army ever closer towards defeat. And you can see the last bits of it, starting to see they're running out of space. They can't squeeze through there. These guys have got them pinned. Another charge will be pushing them off table. And there's still, there's shooting casualties been taken by the Saxons on the way, but not too many. It's a real tough matchup for a shooting army without impact on any of its cavalry to deal with something like this on this terrain, particularly with the marsh closing them into a smaller box for deployment as well, and the Saxons looking like they got a good leap first turn and got a fair way across the table. The shooting really has to be very, very effective, and it looks like it's not been so far. So that's very, very tricky for the Uighurs as they slip ever closer to defeat. And here we can see they're almost having to make a stand as the cavalry still only have taken 1 hit. There's very, very few of these light horse and cavalry left now. There must be a lot in the box. It's hard to see how the Uighur army is still standing up to this with just attrition and losses.